I really like this diet for some people because you don't have to be quite as strict for the person who just doesn't want to be. I have a patient, for example, who's from Italy and is always going to want to have some pasta throughout the week. So I say, okay, as long as you do this one rule. This has a lot of positive implications on the body's biochemistry. We know that inflammatory levels change in a positive direction. We know that different markers for disease even change in a positive direction. I'm Dr. Dan Monti. Welcome. Well, I don't know if I have one singular favorite diet. I often use a Mediterranean-based diet as my starting place because those are the kind of foods that I know people really thrive on. Now, how you balance that diet is very customized to the individual. People who will be pretty strict with following the diet, that's the diet and it's my favorite diet. Now, I get many people who there's certain foods they don't want to give up, and also they have a difficult time being disciplined with their diet. Yet they want to lose weight, they want to feel a little bit lighter. And so in those cases, I might recommend an intermittent fasting diet. I really like this diet for some people because you don't have to be quite as strict for the person who just doesn't want to be. I have a patient, for example, who's from Italy and is always going to want to have some pasta throughout the week. So I say, okay, as long as you do this one rule, I have one rule for the intermittent fasting diet. You have to adhere to your window. The window ideally ends by 8 p.m., but you can start it wherever you want in the day. And that you break the fast with real food. The reason being, here, the cells of your body are waiting for nutrients. Your gut is sitting there with nothing in it except some fluids that you've had throughout the day. It's the perfect time to either put something that's energizing, supportive, nutritive to the system, or potentially depletes the system. So when you break the fast with a bagel, that's very different than if you break the fast with an apple or a salad or something that's living and has all those beautiful living enzymes and phytonutrients in it. So even if you have the bagel later on during your window, I'm okay with that, but break the fast with real living food. Intermittent fasting is a way of having your food be taken in all during a particular window of the day. What the window is varies depending upon what the person's weight is when they're starting, their age, but it's usually somewhere 4 to 6 hours, usually never more than 6 hours. I generally work with a 4 to 6 hour window with people. If somebody's on the younger side and doesn't have a lot of weight to use, they might do very well on a 6 hour window. I don't find that beyond 6 hours works most of the time, but you're taking in all of your calories, all of them, during that period of time. And so you're fasting for the rest of the time. So say you have a 5 hour window. That means 19 hours of the day, there are no calories. People often ask, is there an overlap of the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting? And what I'd say to that is very often, and this does depend upon the window and how much is eaten during the window, but very often towards the end of the fast, people are in a state of ketosis, and that likely has some biological value. But as people get older and their metabolism slows down, they need a shorter window. So if somebody is, say, in their 50s, that's the window. I usually start with a 5 hour window and then take it from there. This has a lot of positive implications on the body's biochemistry. We know that inflammatory levels change in a positive direction. We know that different markers for disease even change in a positive direction. There's been a lot of investigation on even the effect of this type of diet for cancer survivors. Does it help them in the long run? I work closely with a Jefferson scientist, and we've done some different studies on calorie restriction, intermittent fasting. These types of things can make a big difference in our overall biochemistry, but more importantly, in our disease risk factors, and more importantly to our subjective sense of how we feel. Oftentimes people who are on a diet like this, once they get used to the window, there might be that first couple of weeks where the window feels difficult. But most people click right in, the body acclimates to that window, and what I hear from people is that they feel better. They have more energy, they think better, their sleep patterns improve. It's really a great diet for a lot of people. Here's the problem I see with a lot of diets. The recidivism rate, or basically gaining back the weight after you lost it, is very high. And one of the reasons is that they're not lifestyle focused. So people are doing something that they perceive to be for a very short period of time, and they're almost anticipating when they can go back to eating the way they used to eat. When that happens, of course, the weight is going to come back. So part of the problem is a mindset problem, and part of the problem is really understanding the value of food and the value of whole foods. So even on something like an intermittent fasting diet, I still try to get people to think about what they're eating during the fast, even if it's not completely strict, but again, getting people more towards a whole foods diet. Last year, my extreme thing, because I must try any diet I ever recommend, and the one that I never tried and never wanted to try, but I made myself do it, and I did it for almost 3 months, and I have to say I felt amazing. But it's hard to do it healthfully, but I did it as healthfully as you could, is I did a ketogenic diet, and I tested myself. I was in ketosis that whole time. After 2 months, when I was at the pool in my building, people were like, "Are you weightlifting all the time?" Like, because there was no fat, I just looked like muscle. But it wasn't because I was exercising more or anything like that. It's just because there was no fat. I stopped the diet because I was actually starting to lose fat in places I didn't want to. I was just becoming just this sinewy, and I'm like, okay, I know that this works. Okay, I see how it works. I see what works. We'll talk about the ketogenic diet next time. I'm Dr. Dan Monti. Be well.